If your cat has specific nighttime behaviors that seem odd or annoying, patrolling the house at 2 a.m., sitting at the bedroom door, positioning themselves at the foot of your bed facing outward, or suddenly becoming alert to sounds you barely notice, you probably think they're just being a typical cat, don't you? Maybe they're restless. Maybe they have nighttime energy. Maybe they're just randomly prowling around because that's what cats do. And honestly, that's what most cat owners assume. But here's what almost nobody realizes, and what recent research into feline social behavior has started to confirm. Those nighttime behaviors aren't random at all. They're not just your cat being active while you sleep. What's actually happening is far more intentional, more social, and more deeply connected to how your cat sees you than most people ever understand. Because here's the truth that reframes everything. Cats, despite their reputation for independence, have complex social structures and protective instincts that activate when they bond with someone. And in the vulnerability of nighttime, when you're unconscious and defenseless, some cats take on what behavioral researchers call sentinel behavior. They're not just awake while you sleep. They're actively monitoring for threats, positioning themselves strategically, and engaging in genuine protective vigilance that most owners never recognize because it happens entirely while they're asleep. Most cat owners wake up with no idea that their cat spent hours doing a security patrol of their home, or that the reason their cat sleeps at their feet facing the door isn't random positioning but deliberate defensive strategy. These aren't quirks. They're your cat expressing something profound. While you're vulnerable, I'm keeping watch. Let me show you exactly what nighttime guarding behavior looks like, why some cats do this and others don't, and what it reveals about your cat's bond with you. Let's start with the most common guarding behavior that almost every owner sees but never interprets correctly: your cat sleeping at the foot of your bed, positioned so they're facing the bedroom door or the room's entrance. You might think they just like that spot, or they don't want to be too close, or the foot of the bed is more comfortable. But here's what's actually happening from a behavioral perspective. This is classic sentinel positioning. Research on feline social behavior in colonies shows that when cats sleep in groups, they often arrange themselves so different individuals face different directions, creating 360-degree awareness of potential threats. Your cat sleeping at your feet facing outward is doing exactly the same thing. They position themselves at the perimeter of your sleeping position, where they can monitor the most likely approach vector for any threat entering your space. Here's the detail that confirms this is intentional. If you move in your sleep and shift position, does your cat sometimes adjust their position to maintain the same orientation toward the door? That's not coincidence. They're not just sleeping randomly in that spot. They're maintaining a strategic position relative to both you and the room's entrance. A study on domestic cat sleeping arrangements found that cats who showed strong attachment to their owners were significantly more likely to position themselves between their owner and the primary room entrance during sleep. The researchers noted this mirrored protective positioning seen in bonded cat pairs and mother cats with kittens. And here's the layer most owners miss: your cat at the foot of the bed isn't being distant. They're being tactical. They can monitor the door without having to turn around. They're positioned to intercept anything approaching you before it reaches your head, the most vulnerable part of you while you're sleeping. And they can exit quickly in any direction if needed, without having to climb over you. This isn't random cat preference. This is defensive positioning that just happens to look like casual sleeping. Now let's talk about the nighttime behavior that drives owners crazy but is actually your cat taking their guarding duties very seriously: the 2 a.m. patrol. Your cat walks through the house, sometimes vocalizing, checking rooms, maybe jumping on and off furniture. You think they're just being active at their natural crepuscular times. But watch the pattern more carefully. Are they patrolling, or are they actually engaging in territorial security rounds? Here's how to tell the difference. Random nighttime activity looks scattered and playful. Your cat might bat at toys, chase shadows, zoom around for no apparent reason. But territorial patrol behavior has a different quality. Your cat moves through the house with purpose, following a relatively consistent route. They check the same locations each time, windows, doors, areas where sounds might originate. They pause and listen. Their body language is alert, not playful. They might vocalize specifically when they complete the circuit, as if reporting back. Research on feline territorial behavior shows that cats naturally patrol their territory boundaries, and this behavior intensifies during nighttime hours when they're evolutionarily programmed to be most alert. But here's the distinction. Cats who are bonded to their owners often incorporate the owner's sleeping location as the central point their patrol originates from and returns to. If your cat starts their patrol from your bedroom, checks the house, and returns to your bedroom, maybe even checking on you specifically before settling back down, they're not just wandering. They're doing security rounds and reporting back to base, which is you. A study on attachment behaviors in cats found that strongly bonded cats would check on their owner's location repeatedly during nighttime activity periods, suggesting the owner's position was a central point of reference for their territorial monitoring. And here's the behavior that confirms this is about guarding specifically. If your cat hears an unusual sound during the night, do they position themselves between you and the source of the sound, even waking you up with vocalization or pawing if the sound persists? That's protective alerting behavior. They're not scared and seeking comfort. They're assessing a potential threat and making sure you're aware of it. Let's talk about a subtler guarding behavior that happens right before you fall asleep. Does your cat settle down for the night only after you're clearly settling down? Maybe they wait until you're actually in bed, or until the lights go out, before they choose their sleeping spot. You might think they're just following your routine. But here's what's actually happening. They're waiting to see where and when you'll be vulnerable before committing to their own rest position. This is called synchronized settling, and research on social sleep in animals shows it's common among bonded individuals where one takes a protective role. Your cat isn't tired or not tired based on the clock. They're monitoring your transition from awake and alert to asleep and vulnerable, and they're timing their own rest period to match yours. And here's the detail that reveals the protective element. Once you're asleep, does your cat sleep more lightly than they do during the day? You might notice they wake up more easily to sounds at night, or they're in positions that allow quick movement rather than fully relaxed sprawl positions. This is vigilant rest. They're sleeping, but not as deeply as they would if they felt you weren't vulnerable. A study comparing cats' sleep patterns during day versus night found that cats sleeping in proximity to their owners at night showed more frequent but shorter REM sleep cycles, suggesting they were maintaining higher baseline alertness during owner sleep hours. The researchers suggested this might be a protective adaptation in socially bonded cats. If you're starting to realize your cat's nighttime behaviors might be about protecting you rather than just being annoying, that's exactly what Whisker Wisdom is about. Subscribe so you understand what your cat is really doing, not just what it looks like on the surface. And stay with me, because the next behaviors are the ones that prove your cat isn't just tolerating your presence. They've actively taken on the role of your protector. Here's the nighttime behavior that's both touching and sometimes startling. Your cat sleeping directly on you or pressed against you in a way that seems inconvenient for them but positions them between you and the room. Maybe they sleep on your chest, or wedged against your side facing outward, or even curled around your head. You might think they just want warmth or closeness. But watch where they're facing and how they're oriented. When a cat chooses to sleep on you rather than just near you, they're doing something remarkable. They're sacrificing their own comfort and mobility to maintain physical contact and positioning. A cat sleeping beside you can move freely. A cat sleeping on your chest or pressed against you has limited movement options and will wake up every time you shift. So why would they choose this? Because physical contact allows them to immediately detect any change in your state. Your breathing pattern changes before you wake. Your heart rate changes if you're stressed or having a nightmare. Your body temperature shifts. A cat in physical contact with you has real-time biofeedback on your condition. They're essentially monitoring your vital signs while you sleep. Research on feline social sleeping behaviors found that cats preferentially sleep in physical contact with individuals they show protective or caregiving behaviors toward. In mother-kitten relationships, the mother maintains physical contact specifically to monitor the kitten's states. In bonded adult pairs, the more protective cat often maintains contact with the more vulnerable one. When your cat sleeps on you facing outward, they're combining monitoring you, through physical contact, with monitoring the environment, visual orientation toward the room. You've become the thing they're both protecting and using as their secure base while they maintain vigilance. Now let's talk about the nighttime response behavior that definitively proves your cat is guarding you, what they do when they detect something unusual. A strange sound, an unfamiliar smell, something they can't immediately identify as safe. Here's what guarding looks in action. A cat who's just scared by a noise will typically hide or flee to safety. But a cat who's taken on a protective role does something different. They position themselves between you and the perceived threat, often with specific body language, alert posture, ears forward toward the threat, body oriented to block access to you. They might vocalize, not in fear, but in warning. Some cats will even wake their sleeping owner with pawing or loud vocalizations if they assess the threat as significant enough. This is risk-taking behavior that goes against pure self-preservation. A scared cat prioritizes their own safety first. A protective cat prioritizes threat assessment, and owner alerting before seeking their own safety. The difference is profound. Behaviorists studying protective behaviors in domestic cats have documented cases where cats actively alerted owners to genuine dangers, carbon monoxide leaks, detected through superior sense of smell, medical emergencies, detected through changes in owner's scent or behavior, and home intrusions. While these are dramatic examples, the same protective instinct shows up in smaller ways every night in millions of homes. If your cat consistently investigates unusual sounds before returning to check on you, they're doing threat assessment on your behalf. They're essentially saying, "I heard something. Let me check if it's dangerous before you need to wake up." Here's the nighttime behavior that combines all of these elements into the clearest expression of guarding: the bedroom door watch. Some cats position themselves just inside or just outside the bedroom door at night, essentially standing sentry at the threshold. This isn't about wanting to be in or out. They're controlling the access point to your sleeping location. A cat stationed at the bedroom door is in the optimal position to detect anyone or anything approaching while giving themselves time to alert you or position themselves defensively. Research on territorial control in cats shows that doorways and thresholds are high-value tactical positions that cats naturally monitor because they're transition points where threats are most likely to appear. If your cat insists on sleeping right in the bedroom doorway despite it being inconvenient, people stepping over them, door not closing fully, they're prioritizing strategic positioning over comfort. That's protective behavior overriding personal preference. And here's the test that proves it's intentional. If you close the bedroom door with your cat outside, do they paw at it or vocalize to be let in? Not because they want affection or attention, but because they want to be on the same side of the barrier as you. They can't guard you effectively if they're separated from you by a closed door. Their distress at the closed door isn't separation anxiety, it's frustration at being blocked from their protective position. So why do some cats display these protective behaviors while others don't? Because not every cat takes on a guarding role, and understanding why reveals something important about cat personalities and attachment styles. The cats most likely to show nighttime guarding behaviors are cats with secure attachment to their owner. Research shows that cats who view their owner as a primary attachment figure are more likely to engage in protective monitoring behaviors. Cats with confident, bold personalities. Guarding requires a cat to confront potential threats rather than avoid them. Anxious or fearful cats are less likely to take on this role because their own security needs dominate. Cats who were socialized with protective models. Cats who observed protective behavior from their mother or other cats during development may be more likely to adopt similar behaviors. Single cat households or cats who are only pet. Cats who don't have to share protective duties with other pets sometimes take the role more seriously. Cats who view their owner as their person specifically. In multi-person households, some cats bond more strongly with one individual and direct their protective behaviors primarily toward that person. If your cat doesn't do these nighttime behaviors, it doesn't mean they don't love you. It might mean they have a different personality type, a different attachment style, or they simply express their bond in other ways. Not every cat is cut out to be a guardian, and that's perfectly normal. Here's what all of this really means, and why it matters more than it might seem. For decades, cats were dismissed as asocial, independent animals who tolerated humans for food and shelter but formed no genuine bonds. The science has completely overturned that understanding. We now know cats form complex attachments, engage in social behaviors including protection of bonded individuals, and make deliberate choices about how they relate to their humans. When your cat positions themselves at your feet facing the door, patrols the house at night, sleeps on you facing outward, alerts you to unusual sounds, or insists on being in the bedroom with you, they're not being random or needy or annoying. They're expressing a bond so strong that they've taken on the role of your nighttime guardian. You're asleep, vulnerable, defenseless. And your cat has decided that while you're in that state, they'll maintain awareness on your behalf. They'll monitor for threats. They'll position themselves strategically. They'll sacrifice their own deeper sleep to stay alert enough to protect you if needed. That's not instinct in the sense of automatic, unthinking behavior. That's choice. Your cat is choosing to prioritize your safety over their own comfort, their own rest, their own preferences. Every single night. At Whisker Wisdom, we believe in recognizing the depth of what our cats are offering us, even when it looks like nothing special. If this changed how you see your cat's nighttime behaviors, share it with someone whose cat is doing these same things. Your cat can't tell you, "I'll keep watch while you sleep." They can't say, "I'm positioning myself to protect you," or, "I'm patrolling to make sure everything is secure." But they can sleep at your feet facing the door. They can do their 2 a.m. security rounds. They can press against you while facing outward. They can alert you to sounds you didn't notice. They can insist on being in the room where you're vulnerable. Every night, while you're unconscious, your cat is making choices about where to position themselves, how deeply to sleep, what to monitor, what to investigate. And those choices consistently prioritize your safety and security. You adopted a cat thinking you were getting a companion. What you actually got was a small, furry guardian who takes the night shift seriously. The foot of the bed isn't random. The door position isn't convenience. The patrol isn't just restlessness. The alert to sounds isn't anxiety. It's all protection. Offered without being asked. Given without expectation of recognition. Performed every night while you sleep peacefully, completely unaware that you're being guarded. Your cat has been protecting you all along. The question is whether you've been seeing it for what it is, or dismissing it as just cat things. Now you know. Your nighttime guardian has been on duty every single night. Standing watch. Keeping vigil. Making sure that while you're defenseless, someone is paying attention. And tomorrow night, when they take their position at the foot of your bed facing the door, or when you hear them padding through the house on their patrol, you'll finally understand what they've been doing all along. Guarding you. Because they've decided you're worth protecting. Sleep well. Someone's watching over you.